So I caught the head cold that is going through my family right now. Um, so if I'm sniffling like that, oh, look, I touched my face. Um, that's why. Uh, so I don't know if it was the last video or the one before that. Um, I had a guy during the middle of a snowstorm drive out some records that I saw he had on Facebook Marketplace, and I bought them. And it's been like a week, I think, since then, maybe two. I can't remember. That's the problem. And he turned around and ended up giving me a call and said, "Hey, I got some more." He's like, "It's not a big stack or anything like that. 25 records, $100. You want to come look at them?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay." So this time he didn't drive it out in the middle of a snowstorm. I had to go to him. But I went and picked him up, and I just got back now. Again, nothing really super rare in there, but just good bread and butter stuff. And at that price, I mean, I can't. I'm kind of hoping the guy was a little coy. He wouldn't tell me if I had like more, or this was just like him getting rid of parts of his collection. See, as like I've been doing this well, I've had the store for 20 years for those who are new to the channel. And I have been collecting my whole life. I'm 54 now, so I would say probably from the time I was like 13 or 14, I started collecting various things: cards, comic books, records, everything. And I've continued my whole life with that. And so you learn, you try to probe when you get inside somebody's house about, what stuff they have. And so this is the second time he's come up with records. So I'm kind of trying to figure out, like, do you have more, or am I going to be getting another call? But he just, playing his cards close to his chest. So hopefully there will be more calls in the future, because during the winter here in Canada, it's a little harder to find decent records. And the last batch were super clean. And so I'm imagining, I kind of flipped through them really quick, that these are all super clean too. So let's go see what we got. Okay, there you be. So I'm gonna try something a little different this time than I normally do, because normally I just do the flip through, and because I'm doing this with a handheld phone, I find it really difficult to be able to get the records out with one hand. So generally I just don't show the labels. Probably out of all the requests that I get from the comments and things like that, it's usually people being really nice. Like, I gotta say, like, the comments, that was one of the things I was worried about, that, people would be mean. But generally everybody's pretty nice. And the one comment is sort of like constructive criticism is that I wish you would spend more time showing the labels. So I've been trying to figure out a way to do it. People have recommended using a stand. It never seems to work for me. So I have set it up the way that I'm going to do it now. And normally I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't leave the records out of the sleeve, but because it's only going to be a few seconds, and I'm going to clean these anyways after, we're going to do it this way. No records were harmed in the making of this video, I promise you, or none will be anyways, because I'm not, completely unaware of how to handle records. It's been, 40 odd years dealing with them. So anyways, AC/DC, the classic Back in Black. This cover looks bad, but it is dust. You see, if you rub your finger over it there, the dust disappears. So I'm going to have to give that one a wipe down. But it's in fairly nice shape. A little bit of, wrinkling on the spine, which with a black album cover almost always happens. But I think that'll clean up really nicely. The record itself was in immaculate condition. There is the inner sleeve. There. It is a Canadian pressing, so there you go there. That's not helpful that I didn't put it the right way up. So yeah, it's that gray Atlantic label on it there. So this one is something that I have never come across before. It is yellow, or like a sort of electro I don't want to say, 1980s electro dance group, and this is a remix album. It came out in 86, and it is a 2-record set. Not something I see all that often. And there is the label there. You can see it. Most of these, I don't know if I mentioned, are going to be 1980s sort of reissues or original 1980s pressings, or like I said, reissues of earlier ones reissued in the 1980s. So you're going to see that in the labels, and that is the reason why these all have these super thin, annoying plastic sleeves that were used in the 80s. This is the thing that I might end up keeping. So I'm a huge Bowie fan. I'm sure I've mentioned that before on the channel. First concert I ever saw was Bowie in I think it was 87. And I've been looking for a copy of this soundtrack for a long time. It is harder to find, and when you do find it, it is usually really expensive. I'm not willing to pay like $60 because I'm cheap for a US first pressing. I mean, it's, because it's not an entire Bowie record. It's just, these are the tracks here that he did. But it's something that I've always wanted. I was super excited because this was sitting at the front of the crate when I went to go look at the records the guy had brought out. And then as soon as I touched it and felt how heavy it was, I realized that, oh, this is a reissue, and it is. It's a 2017 reissue, which is fine. I'll probably end up keeping it until I find an original that, I can afford. So yeah, it's a nice package. Just like most of the reissues, it's on heavier vinyl, 180 gram at least. So that's it there. And let's see, there's your inner sleeve. Look at that hair. That's great. So Sabbath, this again is the Canadian pressing. You can see there, it's got the little thing. It's probably a 1980s reissue, just based on the label, which is the Warner Brothers stripe. That's generally was used in the 1980s for the most part. So there you go there. Put that down there. The Beatles 20 Greatest Hits. I think this came out in, I know it was like the mid-80s, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I'm trying to have a look and I can't actually see when the release date for it was. Who knows? Maybe you guys can see. I can't. But I believe this one is, again, it's another 80s repress. There's the inner sleeve. Great inner sleeve. Awesome. And it is the Capital Rainbow, but again, the 1980s, not the original Capital Rainbow they used. Edgar Winter Group. It's on the standard Epic label that was used in the 80s again. Well, this was used pretty close to this through the 70s and 80s as well, so this might be a 70s pressing. I haven't gone into it, but I'm going to say probably 1980s, because most of the stuff here was from that. Best of the Doobies. It's on the, definitely a 1980s pressing, because it's on that Warner Brothers where it has the WB Ghost label, I call it, with the ghosty WBs in the background there. Something I don't see too often either is this ELO Greatest Hits. It's on the CBS Direct. And there is that right there. There you go. And just for those who are freaking out, I am not touching the record on the thing. It's actually those thin plastic covers they put out in the 80s. John Cougar's American Fool. And there is your inner sleeve, original. And then that's a pretty cool label they put out there. Yeah. Robert Cray. It's on a pretty standard Mercury label. It's Canadian pressing again, too. T'Pau. Oh, never mind. I didn't take that out. So Canned Heat. I don't know what it is about Canned Heat, but like just about every copy I've ever had of any Canned Heat record is trashed. Always. Like, it'll play through, but it is just like beat up. And I've never figured it out. So I was, I saw this and I'm like, oh, it's probably another beat up copy. I was pleasantly surprised to find it's an original Canadian, early, if not first press, and it is in pretty nice shape. There's some dust on there from the sleeve. That's it. but like no scratches, nothing. I was like super happy with that. So again, clean that dust off there when I run it through the cleaner, and it'll be perfectly fine. Later, again, 1980s with the 2-record label on the front cover there for Elton John's Goodbye to Yellow Brick Road. And there's the inner sleeve, and that is the MCA Rainbow label, as I like to call it. Cheap Tricks Live at Budokan. I think this is a Canadian first pressing. It's on that 70s Epic label that was used through the late 70s and early 80s. You see it on the Clash albums and things like that. From that time period, Night Ranger, good Canadian band. And that's same kind of Epic again. Pretenders, Learning to Crawl. And there you go. Robert Plant's Pictures at 11. Oh, I didn't know that. There you go. Phil Collins played on this. And that's the classic Swan Song label. Fleetwood Mac's Rumors. Now, this is a 1980s reissue. It's, again, there is that Warner Brothers, I like to call it the Ghost label with the gray Warner Brothers symbol, or whatever, crest or whatever you want to call it there in the background. This one did not come, and it was issued that way, with any of the inner sleeves and things like that. Then it just came with these sort of plasticky thin things they did. Sniff the Tears. There's the inner sleeve. Later Atlantic record label. Boston's, is this Third Stage? I can't remember, honestly. It's been that, yeah, Third Stage. And they had their own custom label with Boston on there, really nice, from MCA Records. Steely Dan's Greatest Hits, again with the 2-record thing on there, and it is the MCA Rainbow. The Beatles' Hey Jude, and this is the Canadian Purple reissue from the 80s. Aerosmith's Toys in the Attic, standard Columbia, later Columbia, and then the best of Booker T and the MGs, which, oh my god, I can't even go on like about how good Booker T and the MGs are. And there you go, it's on the Atlantic label there. So that's what I've got there. It's 20, I think I counted it between coming in. It's actually only 24 records. I think he said originally 25, but there's only 24 there. And it was $100. The guy just called me up and said, because again, I'll repeat the story, but I bought a couple of weeks back, I think it was, you can go back and watch the video. I've managed to get something on Marketplace, and but it was during the middle of a pretty huge snowstorm, and I told the guy, I said, can I come pick these up, tomorrow when there's a storm? There was like, it was $150 for a crate of records, and he didn't show everything, he showed a few. And he said, oh, where do you live? And I told him, and he said, oh, I've got a 4x4 and I'm coming out that way anyways today, so I'll just drop him off. I told him I had a store, and he brought him in, and yeah, I ended up buying them off him, and he called me back, and I got these. So yeah, again, a lot of times it is about just trying, dumb luck. And it's I'm kind of hoping, again, he wouldn't, sort of played his cards close to his chest, not telling me if he had more records, probably because he doesn't want me going, oh, can I see them, and that sort of thing. Although generally I know how to read people. I don't pressure people when I kind of get that vibe they're not interested in it. Yeah, hoping I get a few more calls out of it. He was, he got the price he wanted for it, and I think it was a great deal. Just especially considering, this is bread and butter stuff. There's nothing really crazy rare in here. But it's the kind of stuff that sells slowly but surely through the store. So anyways, that's it. That's all I got this week. I hope you guys are able to find some good records when you're digging through the crates. Bye.